Echo, I really need to see someone who loves me. Echo. I wanted to work with sound and multimedia. So I partnered up with this guy, Benno, who was interested in the concept of background noise that is now put into all technology that we use to make us feel like the technology is authentic. So that was our focus, which is our human relationship to authenticity in technology and machinery. So we built a performance involving communication by Skype and then some kind of fantasy uses of multimedia, of sound and visuals, to make a little story about this.
So we had a little jar with some dead birds and a kind of fake veterinary autopsy report. And we made these kind of objects for each day, and they were just small little beautiful things. My strategy was to let them develop projects, but then constantly throw in other ways to see things, so they didn't just stick on the idea of making a movie. Basically, that was my one thing, was to say, okay, doing video for theater is not like making a movie. You have to think of the live element. You have to think of how it gets made. You have to think about how the audience sees it. You have to think that it's somehow produced and has that feeling of being produced. And I think in various ways all the projects hit that, either because they mixed live and pre-recorded stuff. Everything was installed in a certain way and not just projected on a screen.
Chris Kondek presented me his work at the beginning of this workshop. I think it's interesting because he's focused on to create kind of the magic that comes from technology, but revealing how it's made. And I think it's interesting for the audience especially. The more you can see and I know from other people and other cultures, the more you are enriched by this experience, especially in opera, which I learned thanks to enoa that is lived very differently from country to country.
They can slide the length of these tables. And we did everything, I think most everything with putting still photos under the camera. So now you're going to see a photo play, and in a sense it's copying, it's a bad copy of, you don't have to learn how to do it, right? It's because in the end they probably won't be the ones doing it. They have to learn how to think about it. And maybe one job I could do is get them to go past their first simple ideas that they have. So already start one level deeper. And especially since the first ideas people usually have are just kind of illustrating something with video, as opposed to allowing the video to do some work that causes something to happen. They just want to show something. You can play those bits and you can narrate it at the same time and do a kind of, at the end, if you don't make a show, you can do kind of lecture demonstration, and it would be great. You just say, well, the story starts out with this guy Faust, and he's on this horse. Music. Okay, thank you. Where the students tried to figure out how to solve this one passage in Faust that involves a horse ride to hell. And how did they solve that? And so the question is, it's hard to do on stage, but with video, they found a technique to make that happen. Then there was another project by two young dramaturgs, and they wanted to work just with the color white. And they sort of dissolved many different layers of white things into each other. And at the same time, there were sort of texts about vanishing, disappearing, and a little bit from Susan Sontag mixed in. So there was a kind of more conceptual piece.
Wir müssen lernen, mehr zu sehen, mehr zu hören und mehr zu fühlen.
letztes Mal habe ich ein Projekt gemacht.
One student was a Korean girl, and she made a very funny thing where she had a background on a television, and then a figure of an image of herself on a projector, and projected that onto the television. So she basically, with a beamer, projected her own image into a TV. But it was all done in a kind of low-budget, charming way, a low-tech, charming way, which was very sweet.
Ich will eines Beamer meine Anti-Performance übertragen.
And then there was a project that was a kind of animation of a breakfast table shot from above, and that was projected on top of the breakfast table itself. So you had bowls and glasses and a bag of muesli and orange juice, and that was then shot and projected on top of that, and that made a very weird kind of surreal combination. I don't know, again, I don't know if you can teach somebody, I don't know if you can really teach somebody to make a beautiful picture. But you can teach them for sure, or you can give them tools to think about the video. It's much easier to think about what a video should be if you've seen 10 different examples of people trying to do the same thing. Then you could say, this kind of works and this kind of doesn't work. I think that's it for our showing today. Thanks for coming.
Chris Kondek is lovely, great. He was very open, and he was a great facilitator of coming between the projects and just pushing the grey areas of knowledge that we didn't have. And yeah, that was a really well done job by the workshop facilitator.